guys, it's Luke from RetroRevival here, and as you can see, today I am doing another custom LEGO minifigures video, and today is very spooky because it's Halloween, the scariest day of the year, which is cancelled this year. So instead of going trick-or-treating this Halloween, you can watch this video and be just as happy, I'm sure. But in all seriousness, here are the figures. Starting on the front row, you've got Chucky, Billy, Carrie, Hannibal Lecter there on the end, then you got Ghostface, Ash, Samara, and Pinhead. And these are all, of course, horror characters. Now, I have done a horror-themed video before. That was last Halloween, so you can go and check that out. And that was actually a very popular video. I think it's the second most popular custom LEGO minifigures video I've done, after the surprising Birds of Prey one this year. So check that out if you haven't seen it already. And this is sort of like a continuation of that. So guys, without further ado, let's get into the figures. So guys, here is the first figure. This is Carrie from the 1976 film Carrie, and this is her after she's had a load of pig's blood dumped on her head at a high school prom. And I just want to start off by saying I absolutely love this horror movie. It's just a classic, and I do quite like this figure. I do have a few grievances with it, so let's just get into them right now. Now, first of all, this is just a personal preference, but I prefer to have like the different skin tones LEGO figures instead of having just yellow skin. But that's not a problem with the figure itself, it's just me being quite picky. So let's start off with the actual figure itself and start with the hair. Now, I'd say this hair is actually pretty spot on. The shade's a little bit off, but I can understand why they went with this one. And one problem I do have with it is that everything else is drenched in blood on this figure, but the hair isn't. It's just completely dry, even though the bucket of pig's blood went onto her head first. So it's just interesting that there's no blood at all. But let's then go down to the face. It's a very basic face with just eyebrows, eyes, and a mouth. But she has got blood dripping down her face. This looks really cool, but there is a bit of a gap where the printing hasn't gone through, just between the top of the head and the hair. So it does make it look a little bit odd. But then going down to the torso, this is absolutely phenomenal. You can see a whitish prom dress there, and you can see more blood just chucked all over it. There's loads of creases all over this just to show where it's just been absolutely battered, and there's loads of different shades of red just to show the blood. This is just absolutely great. And you can see like the neckline up there, and that also has blood on it. Her whole dress, including like the little slope bit at the bottom, is just brilliant. Then on the side, she has this red handbag, which I'm pretty sure she doesn't actually have in the movie. I don't remember seeing that, but I think they just chucked it in. And she also has some blood on her arms, but there's no printing on the sides of the dress, which is a bit of a shame. And now on the back of her dress, there is more printing of the white and red, and some black creases, and this just looks great once more. Next up is everyone's favourite murderous doll, Chucky, and this is another solid figure. So let's start off with the hair. It is the perfect shade, and I can't think of a better hair mould to choose for Chucky. It's like the kind of long-ish male hair, and it's just spot on. Then we go to the face, and I'm not a huge fan of this face. This actually shows Chucky later on in the Child's Play franchise. This isn't from his first movie, because he has those scars on his face. He also has his two eyes and a mouth, and the eyes, I don't know why it looks like he's got eyeliner on, or mascara. It's just like they're really dark around those eyes, and I'm just not a big fan. But then the torso and leg combo on this figure is great, just like the Carrie figure. As you can see, he's got his overalls on with the stripy jumper underneath, and this is of course the Good Guys doll outfit. Lots of lines, and you can see on his dungarees there's a pocket on the front there, and it looks like there's like a knife or something tucked in there. But it just seamlessly goes onto the legs with this really detailed stripe pattern here. It's such a tiny little thing to get perfectly, and this is just printed brilliantly as well. And he's got his red shoes at the bottom with some laces printed on there. Now going on to the side, you can see the stripes on his arm. This looks brilliant. However, there's no printing on the legs, and for some reason they've given him a hobbit sword instead of like a little dagger or a knife, which is an odd choice. But then you can see on the back that the dungarees have come around to the back, as well as the stripy pattern underneath, with what looks like paint like blotched on the dungarees. You can see like the sew lines, and then on the legs it just continues pretty well. You can see a little bit of the white there, with the red shoes, the stripes, and some more creases. just all over this. What a great figure. Next up is Billy from Saw, and this is another good figure. This is just a really good set of figures. Now let's start off with the hair. It's the right shade, of course. It's pretty good. I feel like they could have found something else, but you know, it passes. It's pretty good. Then the face, this is the standout part of the figure. It's just spot on, you can tell exactly who it is. Very sinister with the red eyes, the red mouth, and of course the red spirals on his cheeks. He's got some more creases on his face, and it's just really creepy. Then going down to the body, you can see his suit with the red buttons, a little red pocket square, and a red dicky bow. You can see a little bit of his white shirt underneath, and a tuxedo underneath the jacket. There are also pockets on the jacket, and it continues brilliantly to the legs. You can see the line there, but it's still pretty seamless. Then on the legs you can see the little parts at the bottom of the jacket, and you can see some creases down the leg, and his red shoes. Then on the sides you can see the little cuff on the arms, and a little bit of red on the shoes. Now on the back it's very hard to see, but there's a few creases and lines on the back of the torso to show where the collar, and this little bit of where the jacket is. And then there's a few creases on the back of the legs, and a little bit more red for the shoes. So next up is another yellow figure, which is a bit of a downer, but it's also another pretty good figure. And this is Hannibal Lecter from The Silence of the Lambs. And just before we start, what a great movie this is. If you haven't seen it, you need to watch it. It is an absolutely excellent movie. But let's start on the figure, and let's start off with the hair. And I think this is a pretty good mould. I'd say the colour's a bit off, so there needs to do a bit of work on that. And the mould's pretty good, but I feel like there could have been a different mould. Then going down to the face, once again it's the yellow figure, which is a bit of a downer, but that mask is awesome. And this is instantly recognisable. Just look at that face. So many creases, and the mask itself is so detailed, and it's just so iconic. Then going down to the body, I know he's missing arms, but it makes sense because he's in a straitjacket. And you can see where the arms cross over here, and you can see the strap going across, which is tying him down to this sort of like, I really don't know what to call this. It's sort of like a box mover. It's sort of like a box truck thing that postmen use to move big boxes. I know it sounds weird, but it's the only way I can describe what this is. But yeah, that's the strap that connects him to it. And then you can see other buckles and other places where he's tied in with a few brown creases. And you can just see his neck up there and the top of the jacket. Then going down to the legs, they are orange because of course he's in a prison jumpsuit. And you can see the white strap which goes between his legs, which ties him to the back. And there's more buckles on the legs, because remember, this is a very violent criminal. These straps are brown with a few little silver buckles right there, and he's got black shoes. There's no printing on the sides, and then on the back you can see the brick-built sort of box mover. If you know what I mean by that, guys, then you know what I mean by this. But yeah, that's what he's tied to. Now, going on to the next figure, this is a very recognisable character. This is Ghostface from Scream. And to be honest, I don't have any complaints about this figure. The only thing I'd say is that it's a little bit basic, but it's just so recognisable. So let's start off with the headpiece. Of course, this is just a basic hood. It's all in black, but then it just goes down to this amazing face. This is the iconic Ghostface mask. You can tell exactly what it is, with the two drooping eyes and the huge mouth. It's just absolutely awesome. Then going down to the torso and the legs, I'm just going to do this as like a little combo together because they sort of lead into each other. And you can just see his like black robes, I guess you can see, because it's supposed to be like a Halloween style outfit. And you can see just in this dark grey all these creases all up and down the legs to show it's sort of like flowing in the wind. There's no printing on the sides, but you can see his little knife right there. And there's no printing on the back, but the cape is the Batman cape with the little arches at the bottom there. Next up is Ash from the Evil Dead. I think this might actually be the Evil Dead 2 or Army of Darkness, I'm not too sure, but this is the character of Ash. And I've got quite a few complaints with this, to be honest. The first one is it just looks quite cartoony and a bit sloppy, to be honest. But let's start off with the top and work our way down. Let's start off with the hair. I think this is a bit over the top for Ash. It's just a bit too big. It's like an Elvis haircut. And his hair isn't really like this, it's a bit smaller, so it just looks a bit too big for this character. Then going down to the face, it's quite a generic looking face, you can't really tell who it is. But there's a few scars on there, see his eyes, and he's got a bit of a smirky grin. Then going down to the torso, this is very detailed, you can see where it's half ripped off there, and you can see his chest with some hair. Then you can see his blue shirt on this side. It covers up all of his body and his hand. Then of course you can see the cross across his chest, which is these straps with a couple of buckles on there, and there are some lines and creases on there in black with some brown stains. His other arm is just exposed, so it's like this pale colour. Then on the legs you can see he's got a belt with these brown trousers. I don't think this is a very good transition, to be honest, from the top, because this is all messy and this is quite like nice and pristine, but you can see they're all brown with like these little white bits on the legs and a belt. Now going on to the side, there's no printing, but he has got this, which is supposed to be his boomstick, so that's a plus. Then on the back there's more printing with the belt on the legs and the cross going across his back, with more brown right around here with all the creases and stains. And this, which I'm not too sure what this is supposed to be honest. Could be a baseball bat, could be a book, you don't know. If anyone wants to let me know in the comments, please do. Now next up is Samara, the girl from The Ring, and this is another instantly recognisable figure. Of course there's no face on this one, so we're just going to have to say the hair. Of course this is a hairpiece put on backwards, and it actually looks great on this figure. It works very well. It's what I like to call the Lucius Malfoy hairpiece, because they used to put that on the old Lucius Malfoys, but it's in black. And it looks really good, to be fair. It just flows right down her body. Then on the torso you can barely see anything, but there are creases on there and like tears in her dress. It's all white with a little bit of trimming across the bottom of the torso. Then of course the legs. This is the most detailed part of the figure, where you can see a lot of creases and tears in her dress in black and grey, and there's a little bit of beige at the bottom here, which looks a bit muddy, and it looks like the dress is like decayed away. Just looks really nice. Then on the side it's all white, however this is like a nice slope instead of just like a ramp piece that they use on the other ones. And you can see this really cool VHS, which is her accessory. It's probably the coolest accessory out of all of these. Now on the back you can see my biggest problem with this figure is that if you look at this figure from behind, it looks ridiculous because the hair doesn't continue on. It's just a hairpiece put on backwards, so all you see is just the back of her head. There's also no printing on the back of her dress, which is a shame. However, on the torso, there are some creases and some cuts again, so at least we've got that. And the final figure today is Pinhead from Hellraiser. Now, I'm going to be honest, I'm not actually a fan of this film. I have seen it. I just don't think it's that good. I feel like there could be so much more done with that franchise that would just make it so much better. But anyway, we need to talk about the figure, and let's start off with the head. There's no hairpiece, but the head is just full-on white with the pins in his face. You can see he's very upset. Just look at that face, he's not happy at all. But as I said, you can see the pins coming out of his face, and this sort of like cross-hatch pattern, I guess you could say, that goes across the pins. It's a little bit cartoony, this face, but it's alright. Then the torso is very detailed, with these very elegant robes that he's got on, with a lot of grey detail. There's some red, there's this little like crest in the middle there. It also continues seamlessly to the legs, which is very nice. There's just a lot of detail, and then on the legs, well, they're not really legs, it's like another slope piece. There's less detail, but it's so seamless where it sort of comes together in the middle, and there are some more creases. It's just very nice. Then on the side, there's no printing at all, but there is this little accessory, this tile, which is supposed to be the Pandora's box. And this is actually very detailed, a very nice accessory, so that gets a thumbs up from me. And then on the back, there's no printing on the back of the head, or on the back of the robe itself. However, on the back of the torso, there are a few small creases, and a little bit of a neckline right there. So guys, here are the figures at the end, and what I always do in these videos is say which one's my favourite, and which one's my least favourite. And to be fair, this is actually a pretty good group of figures. And I'd probably say that my favourite character, I know it's kind of basic, but I think it's actually Ghostface. I think that figure's just executed really well. And then I'd probably say my least favourite figure is actually Ash. I just think it's a bit sloppy and it doesn't look like him that much. But to be fair, overall this is a very, very, very good group of figures. So it's actually very hard to pick out which one's the best and which one's the worst. But why don't you guys let me know in the comments if you agree or disagree. So guys, I've been Luke from RetroRevival. Like, comment and subscribe, and I'll see you all later. Bye.